Hello, good morning, everyone in America, and good evening, everyone in Kenya. And welcome to I Am the Universe with Khaled and Kintu. Khaled was here and he left because of the network he is streaming live from Kankama, just outside the refugee camp in Kenya desert. And sometimes the network is a little iffy. So we're going to that's one reason we're all here, because we're going to support him, and he'll be back shortly, I'm sure. But in the meantime, I want to introduce our guest today. Her name is Midge Noble, and she is a spiritual teacher. She's also a podcast host. She has a podcast called God is Gay, I believe. Is that it?
Gay with God.
Gay with God. I love that. I had a special podcast last couple of years ago. It was called it's time to tell the truth. Jesus was a bisexual. Oh, that got all kinds of comments. It's the truth. But the idea that God would be anything else but gay, because we are all God. Everything created, every human being created was created by God herself. And we were all created perfectly as divine beings, and it has nothing to do with our sexual orientation, our gender identity. We're born beautifully. I think that is Midge's primary message. We're here today to talk about manifesting peace. We're talking about manifesting peace in a world where it's really challenging out there right now. And there's no lack of trauma in the outside world. And that trauma on the outside world could also very easily trigger, particularly now during the holidays, the trauma in our inside world. And so we want to talk about that today. How we manifest and how we create the outside world is always from the inside out. So we can resolve the conflicts within ourselves and love ourselves for who we are. Then we're more open and more willing to, that's the kind of world we can manifest in the outside world. So that's the topic for today. And I'm going to just sit back for a second, and I'm going to say, Midge, you're a podcast host. And I love when I have podcast hosts on here, because I can just let you talk. I was on your show this weekend. I had a great time. So Midge, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, how you came up with your podcast, what you do, and we'll go from there. And we'll want to talk about some things people can do to manifest a happy holiday season, in spite of what might be going on in the outside world, and maybe in your home, and maybe with some estranged families. I know it's almost stressful for a lot of people because they're going home for the holidays where they were traumatized, particularly for LGBTQ people, where they were traumatized as children.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of emotions going on right now. And so I'm going to let Midge take over from here, tell her story, and we'll go from there. How about that? And and when my son comes on, I'll bring him on to the screen, and we'll include him in the conversation. Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you for bringing me on your show, and I appreciate you very much. And we did have a wonderful conversation when you were on the Gay with God podcast. So I grew up in the South. I was affected by religious trauma, and that comes in lots of forms. When somebody takes authority over you, tells you what to think, doesn't let you ask questions, makes you believe in something because of guilt and shame and fear. And really, it's sort of a cultish thing, and it affects not only gay people, it affects all marginalized people. Religious trauma can happen against all people across the board. So this isn't just a gay thing, although many gay people do experience it because of the homophobia and the bigotry in our nation. But as you know, there's bigotry against all races, all marginalized people. So throughout my life, trying to figure out whether or not I was gay, it was very traumatic. And I had a very difficult time coming out to myself, and then trying to figure out how to stay alive and not feel suicidal when everybody was telling me God didn't like me and that I was going to hell. So my work with the spiritual practice that I do, as far as coaching, the podcast, and even my memoir, Gay with God, it's all about how to reclaim my faith with the God of my understanding and be able to be myself, to honor my story and know that all the things that happened in my search for who I really authentically was a divine path. I had to go through it in order to heal. So I always call it going through the hurt to get to the healing, because we always experience some sort of trauma or some sort of negativity on our way to who we are really supposed to be. That builds our character, it builds our trust in God, and it is just something that we all seem to be doing. So I am here, and I wrote my memoir, and I do my podcast, all to give people the opportunity to hear you are beloved. You have the divine within you. You have the right to be a Christian, Muslim, whoever you are. You have that right because you were created to be you in God's image. And God does not expect you to kill yourself in order to get to some heaven. God just wants you to be you, to show up as you. And in this time of crisis since 2016, we've had crises before. It's not just since 2016, but Martin and I talked about how that was a pivotal dark night of the soul for us when 2016 happened. And this nation, not me, I did not vote for this, let me be clear, but when this nation voted in someone who does not live in peace, someone who does not live in the light, someone who does not have any idea how to have compassion for other people, that became the Pandora's box of all negativity and ugliness in this nation. I mean, it just has gotten so much worse. And so since 2016, I have worked to reclaim my own peace. How can I be in this tornado of political drama and all the ugliness in the world and still be me? Because more than anything, I want peace. And I used to think of it as being a monk sitting up on a mountain, just meditating all day. That would be peace. No, that's not it. Although that's a really cool thing to do every once in a while. But but real peace comes from me standing in the middle of the tornado and trusting God to keep me calm in my mind and in my heart. Do I like what I see? No. Do I get anxious feelings? Yes. And what do I do with that? I have to turn it back over to God, but I have to practice my practice that keeps me peace. My dear beloved friend, Tracy, sent me this. And that's a meditation gong. And I'll tell you that when I hear those sounds, and even before she sent that, I had an app that would give me gongs to go into meditation, because that's just my way. You can do it any other way. You can meditate in the woods. You can meditate by sitting in the dark. You can meditate by art. You can meditate in lots of different ways. That whatever brings your soul a break. You don't have to stay in silence and not have any thoughts. You just have to be in a space of openness to allow spirit to come in and give you that break from all the stuff that you're worried about throughout the day. So when we get in that space, then we can co-create. You cannot co-create in crisis. You can never co-create in crisis. So when we calm ourselves, that's when we can have a better chance of connecting with the creator of all that is. And that's when we can send out the rockets of desire.
I just want to use a couple of things, because you got me going here. Particularly, I want to just be clear about what we both went into a dark night about in 2016.
Okay.
When we elected Trump president, at the time, I was on the 44th floor of a very prestigious Park Avenue office building. And actually, I overlooked Jamie Dimon's office across the street at Chase. I mean, I was up there, and I was sure I was kind of a big deal, and I was out. I was an out gay producer, for a top producer for a large wealth management firm, and I wasn't very happy. I had a lot of imposter syndrome, and I found out a while later, but I was there. I was at that place at the top of the tower, so to speak. And we elected Donald Trump president, and I went into a panic, and I was just horrified, because I knew people like that. I grew up with people like that, just mean, just friggin' mean. And that's what he is. He's mean. and he's selfish. And I knew that wasn't going to be good for the country. And because people were like, oh, I don't know, he's just another Republican. They're good for the market. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Mm.
And look where we are today. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the energy of that man and what he brought into leadership was so scary to me that I
Mm-hmm.
spiraled into the darkest night of my soul, which kind of like you, and I found myself on the edge of bankruptcy within 3 months. You
Mm-hmm.
go high and you fall quick. I'm going to tell you, 'cause I
Mm-hmm.
was fear that I couldn't get a single client no matter what I did. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized I was working in a very toxic place. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
one day after I had my car repossessed, my BMW repossessed, so I had that fancy BMW, and it was gone, and it had been repossessed by the bank. I got it back, but I will tell you, I was in a real, what I'd call a funk. I would call it a pity party if you ever had one. And I called my spiritual teacher, and she said, "Well, Martin, what you got to do is you said let it go. You got to surrender this to God." The
Mm-hmm.
way you surrendered alcohol to God years ago. And so I did that. I knew what she was talking about. And I did. And all of a sudden I was filled with so much grace and peace that and this voice deep in me said, Martin, none of this stuff matters, you know? And I was filled with peace. And all of a sudden I had this kind of awakening moment. And that's when I really began my relationship with the divine in the way that I became a coach. So that was my awakening moment. So there's a value in going into that darkness. And here we find ourselves today in that place of look what has manifested. Look what Trump has manifested. I knew it. We all knew it, and I believe he's going. I think it's about to come to an end myself because I'm manifesting it anyway. But I'll let you. I just wanted to just come in and say about we have to go. You can't in the world of manifesting. There's where you are today. There's where you want to go, and then how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you got to kind of go up that ladder slowly, and you will fall off occasionally. It's not about just having this kind of a woo attitude. You've got to go in and do the work, and particularly going the works inside because all the conflicts are in here.
Right.
Everything we do, as Ram Dass says, is in the intimacy of our own hearts. So whatever you create inside yourself, if you want peace inside, you're going to create a world of peace outside. That's the world we live in. So I just wanted to jump in and say I agree with you. It's great, and that's why we're here.
That's right.
Yeah. So go ahead, keep on going. You're doing great.
Okay, thank you. So when you create that peace inside of yourself, that gives you the open door to be able to connect with the God of your understanding and start to put those rockets of desire out there. So how do you do that? Well, first, you have to know what you really want. What are you really asking for? Because if you don't have a clear picture of what you want, you're going to get something back that you don't expect. Because our rockets of desire are going out all the time. We send out negative things and we get negative things back, and we wonder, where did that come from? Well, whatever you're dwelling on, whatever you're thinking the most about and connecting a lot of emotion about, that emotion is part of the desire. And the more you ruminate on that and ruminate on that, you're bringing it to you. The example that I've always used with people is a woman who's trying to get pregnant. And she tries and tries to get pregnant. And she keeps saying, I can't get pregnant. I don't know why I can't get pregnant. Maybe I'm not supposed to have children. I can't get pregnant. They go through IVF. I can't get pregnant. I can't get pregnant. Well, then we'll just adopt. And they adopt. And do you know what happens? Almost most of the time, she gets pregnant after she adopts. Why? Because she was sending out that message that I can't get pregnant. The baby was coming and she stopped it. And then when she quit ruminating on it and she had a child, that baby came on. So
you know, absolutely, you know that is the law of attraction.
Yes.
What you think is what you create. If you think I can't have a baby, you're going to create I can't have a baby.
Right.
If
Right.
you think I can't have a baby, you're going to have a baby.
That's right.
And,
so if we're
and what you feel is what you're going to attract. So if
yes.
you think I can't have a baby, you feel depressed. So you attract more depression.
Yes.
If you think I'm going to have a baby, you think excited. That's creative. Get in your vibration. And then you imagine yourself never having a baby. That's what you'll become. But if you begin to imagine yourself having a baby and enjoying setting up the room and see yourself taking care of the baby, all of a sudden that's what you become. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. How do you manifest? You have to go in and see what's going on inside of us. What conflicts do we have? And it's the most common thing used. People say, I can't afford something.
Right.
And if you keep saying I can't afford something, you're right. You'll never be able to afford
That's
it
right.
because you're telling I can't afford that.
That's right.
And instead, what I tell people say, you know what? Instead of saying I can't afford it, ask yourself, how can I afford it?
Mm.
How can I purchase this? One of two things will happen. One, you'll decide that's something you really need. And number two, if the universe wants you to have it, it's a heart's desire, you'll find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we're going to manifest peace,
yes,
we first have to get in a state of understanding what peace means for us. What is it for us? How will I know how to feel it? And how do I want to present it to the universe? And what is it for me? And I can't tell you what peace feels like to you, but however you imagine it, that's what you're going to bring back to you. So for me, peace is really literally, when I imagine myself in the middle of that tornado and everything is swirling around me. I recognize it. I may have a feeling about it, but I give it back to Creator. And then I get back to understanding that and Julian of Norwich, a wonderful saint, would always say, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. And when did she say that? In the middle of the Black Plague, people. Now, if she looked around her at all the carnage of everything that was going around her, and she could come up with all shall be well, that's a person that has peace and the knowledge of the God of her understanding, and she has created that all shall be well. And she did get the Black Plague, and she did not die, and she continued to serve the people in her town. So when I start to get frazzled, and I connect with that saying, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well, that's my peace. And then I generate that back out to the universe. Whenever I see carnage, whenever I see an ad from a candidate I don't like, I go back to all shall be well, and all shall be well. Am I afraid? Sometimes, yes, I'm afraid. I'm human, for crying out loud. God created me to have all my feelings. So yes, I do, but I have to catch that negativity, challenge it, change it, and then claim it.
That is exactly right. We call that the word that Michael Singer uses, and I talk about. It's called transmutation. We actually need, when we take the energy of fear, and we feel that when we feel that energy of fear, and we actually allow ourselves to feel the energy of fear, and then we can say, let me just feel that, and let me feel it even more deeply. How can I begin to get grateful for this moment? Things that I'm grateful for. And all of a sudden, I've transmuted that fear into love. So I've taken that negative energy and I've used it to co-create the world I want to live in. I don't want to live in the world that I'm afraid of. So I'm not going to go, but but I can feel it, because the shadow uses the feeling of fear to protect us, really.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we're not mad at the shadow. It's taking care of us. As a matter of fact, what I've done is become friends with it. But you say, oh my God, you stop. If you're in the middle of traffic, maybe you need to take a look. But if you're at home, just walking in your backyard, and all of a sudden you're just consumed with fear, you're like, what the hell am I afraid of? You feel it, and you begin to transmute it. We'll say, oh well, what am I so afraid of? Oh, well, I'm being reminded that I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm a bad person, or some negative thought about me usually makes me feel shame comes along. And I'm like, is that true? I feel it and say, what are you trying to tell me? That's not true. I'm really a wonderful, loving man. Cares a lot about the world. And all of a sudden now I've moved into being a co-creator.
Well, I think we all have that power within us, and co-creation is just opening your desires and your nudges up to God, because you usually get them from God, I think, anyway. So when you're pulled into, like, the Diamond Mine Project, or whatever you're doing, I do believe those desires start within us from Creator, and then we can manifest it for ourselves. But it's not like we're pushed into it. I didn't think I would write a memoir about my journey. I never would have thought that. But somebody said something about it. I was on another podcast and they said, as I told my story, they said, "Hey, you ought to write a memoir." And I laughed and laughed. And they said, "No, we're not kidding." And that planted that little seed. Now, why would they say that? They said that because they were given that to say to me that day, so that I would plant that seed inside myself and then manifest it. And I did have to work on it. I mean, it was not easy to write a whole memoir, let me just say. but but I did it because I felt that nudge. And then I wanted to get the message out that you do not have to die to have a relationship with the God of your understanding. You are beloved, you are loved by God, and you have a right to be your authentic self and have whatever faith that you're called to have.
Absolutely. And as it said over and over and over, Jesus called the quantum field, what we know to be the quantum field by science today, he called it the kingdom of heaven. And he would say the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It means it is here now. It is for you now. It is not a place you go for being a good little boy or girl in your lifetime. It is a higher level of consciousness that's beyond the brain. It is what often now is the fifth dimension, where we live, and that's where we manifest, and that's where we create. So the whole idea is, and what Midge and I would like to get you to help you understand is, if you can get yourself into a place of peace, into that higher state of consciousness through meditation, I don't know any better way. And I'll tell you, if you're not sure how to meditate, YouTube has got more videos you can watch, more information, more sound baths. There is no shortage of brilliant experts out there who can teach you to meditate. Just go onto YouTube and find somebody you like and let them guide you. But you need to do it every day. You need to get in you need to be in this frame of consciousness daily. I live my day that way, and I believe you do too. And it's like driving through life from that seat of consciousness. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in the next 30 minutes because I haven't gotten there yet. But I trust in that I'm in this place of peace, and I'm not worried about the world. I'm of it, but I'm not connected to it at the moment. I very rarely am anymore. And because we're not connected to it, we are the space that's holding we are both the space and we are the content of the space as a human. And I've lost my attachment to my own physical life. I'm not afraid of death in any way whatsoever. I don't want to die. I love my life. I have a great time, and I've got two wonderful sons, and I want to live 30 more years to raise them. But it's not something I worry about or I'm afraid of. And it's just a very exciting way to live. And so what do you recommend people do other than if they want? First, I think what you said a while ago is, what do you want for Christmas? Ask the universe for what you want, and never use the word not. Don't tell the universe what you don't want.
Well, I also use the word desire, what I desire, because want implies lack. And so I'll usually say, I desire this, and I use a word that feels more, and use whatever feels comfortable to you and what empowers you. But when you put out your rockets of desire, that is exactly what you're doing, is you're desiring something and you're drawing it to you. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're desiring a world of peace, a world of, when I say a Trump-free zone, I didn't use the word not. Trump-free.
That's right.
That's a positive. I want a world free of the mean people. That's what I want. I want a world free of mean, cruel, particularly people who've done everything they can to get to positions of power to hurt other people, and they hurt a lot of people along the way. And that's true if you go to Putin in Russia. It's true if you go to Africa and deal with Uganda, where they've got dictators that have created these horrendous rules about the Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023, saying that being gay is something that you can be killed for. Right. That's why so many are in Kenya trying to escape their lives.
Yeah,
but there's no shortage out there, and all these really these terrible things that are happening. And but we do have the power, because we are the universe itself. We do have the power doing exactly what you say, and that's going inside ourselves and creating that peace within, and then we can create it outside as well.
Yeah. And for me, I desire that I will always remember that every person is a beloved child of God, even the ones I disagree with, even the ones that I never wanted to be elected. And so my journey this year and my desire is to not only create peace inside myself, but to remember that other people have lost their peace.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. When I say peace in the world, I mean peace inside of all those MAGA Republicans. Just imagine if they woke up. They're in a trance. This is not normal. This is not a regular party. This is a cult with a cult leader, and they're in a cult trance. People I've known well who are good, decent people, are so-called family members are caught up in this trance that they can't have a conversation with them because they just can't see beyond this fear they have of something, and they're just in this trance. What I'm really hoping is that one of these judges is going to just surprise him one night and say, "You're going into jail." No big fanfare. Take away his cell phone. Take away his laptop. Like anybody else that's been arrested for 91 indictments, federal indictments. They're going to go in jail. And they're going to sit in jail, and that's where they're going to wait trial.
I would be there if it was me that had done that.
I would too. I don't want.
I don't understand why we're not playing
in the cult leader is take away his microphone. You know, take away his ability to speak to people. And I'm not the judge, but I have a feeling. I mean, kind of watching what they say. It's not a gag order they're giving. The man is out on bail. And if he violates his bail, the judge can very easily take away his privileges to be free while he's waiting his trial, and we won't hear from him. That's really what I want. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I want him to go away so that the people who are in a trance with him, who are following him, can wake up and they can find the truth and the love within them, so they can get peace in their hearts. Right.
Yep. I agree with you. We all need that peace in our heart, even the ones we disagree with.
So tell us a little bit about your book and what you got going on, and the kind of thing that you do, and who you coach, and who might want to talk to you. And let's do a little Midge Noble promotion here today.
All right.
Things, and you have a lot of people. Let's tell them what you do and
how
they can get in touch with you, and how they can get. We'll make sure that they can get a hold of your book and come to your podcast and tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing.
Okay. So the name of my book is Gay with God, Reclaiming My Faith, Honoring My Story. And you can get it on Amazon, or you can go to gaywithgod.com and get a signed copy from me. And my podcast is open to anyone, any of our beloved gay brothers and sisters to begin with, who want to come on and tell their faith journey story, their coming out faith journey story. And the faith journey is not that you're a certain Christian or a certain faith. It's wherever you landed. And did you go through a religious trauma or not? Or how did you find your way through that religious trauma? My coaching practice is also very LGBTQ friendly and open, because I want you to be able to use that time to explore your own coming out, your own journey. Where do you feel like you're not resilient? You know, do you need to catch some negativity in your life and change it and claim something different? So it's all about empowerment, but also resiliency. And you know, I'm an open door coach online. If you're not gay, you can still come and see me. I accept all people. So, you know, I am my brand. I live, move, and breathe who I am authentically, and how I can put my service out into the world.
I love it. You know, I was just thinking as you were talking about, the universe does take care of people. And we're today having a very outward, open conversation about LGBTQ. And for my son, who's still living in Africa, where it's a curse, and we're very careful about not identifying as gay over there, because it just puts them at too much risk. I'm just thinking maybe the universe said, you know what, he's going to have some network problems, because this conversation may just be too risky for him. The universe might be trying to protect him. So I understand that. That's okay. just conversations about this topic are something that we have to always be very careful about, because you don't have to be gay to be. You can just be accused. A lot of them are.
Right.
That's a real bad. There are bounty hunters out there who will tell people that they're gay or they're bisexual or they're whatever, and then they get. It doesn't have anything to do with whether it doesn't matter whether you are or you're not. It has to do with all about perception.
That's right.
If you really look at it, we're all somewhere on that spectrum. We're not any of. I don't think any of us are 100% one thing or the other. I think if we were on. I'm pretty much a gay man, and I'm very comfortable with that. But I'm sure that if I was on an island by myself and the only person there was a woman, I'd probably find a way to get love. I'd be lonely.
I'm not so sure about that for me. I don't think I could do the other way.
I don't know, but I know I'm certainly not anti-women. I love women. I think they're beautiful. I'm just not sexually attracted to them.
That's right.
But that's all there is to it. But I don't see myself being on an island by myself anytime.
That's funny.
But the reality is that we do have. It's kind of who we are, and we want to be our own, and that's how God made us. So before I want to just make everybody aware that during this holiday season, we're doing a special campaign at the Diamond Mind Academy, something we call the Diamond Mind Project. The Diamond Mind Project was formed by me and a man named Abba Henry, who is in Konkoma, and he is my business partner, and Khaled's a part of this organization. And that organization is there to help African refugees and asylum seekers safely resettle in the United States. And that doesn't matter. And that's any marginalized African refugee. It could be an orphan child. It could be a single mother. It could be a lot of people with disabilities. Living in the camp is very, very difficult. And being a refugee is very difficult. I mean, for some reason you had to leave your country. So, there's a lot of people out there. So our job at the Diamond Mind Academy and the project is to provide a safe place for them to live on their route to the United States. Another thing we do is we're working with what we call the Welcome Corps, which is a wonderful new program about to be released anytime now, which opens up the opportunities for us as individual people to be able to sponsor a refugee of our choosing. So I'm looking forward to the fact that I'm going to be sponsoring both my sons and my business partner first thing when that gets opened up in 2024. It's not hard. So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, just come to my website. You'll find out, we'll tell you all kinds of things about it. But you can also go to thewelcomecorps.com and you can read all about how you can create a sponsorship group. But what we'd really love is for you to go to our website, www.diamondmindacademy.com, and make a donation to our campaign, the land purchase campaign. And really anything from $35 up to $1,500 would be appreciated. When I have a vision of, I would love to see hundreds of $35. I don't care about the amount. I would really love to see the momentum and the love showered as we creating peace of hundreds of $35 donations. So don't think, oh, it's just one $35 donation is all we would be thrilled. We'd be thrilled. And almost anybody in America can afford $35. I mean, that's the price of a single meal here. So if you want to celebrate and get into a feeling of peace and joy and happiness, go to our website, www.diamondmindacademy.org, and see what we're doing. Number one, learn all about the work we're doing and what's going on in Africa. And number two, make a small donation and spread the word. We'd appreciate that. Okay. I'm going to give you the last word, and then we'll close out.
Well, my last word is, beloved, that's exactly what you are. And please vibrate up and put your own peace out into the world. And if we all do that, it's going to happen.
Okay, well, hold on one second. I'm just going to close out the show. And thank you so much, Midge,
thank you
for being part of our show today. I miss my son. I love when he's here. As we said, all is well and all will always be well. and everything is
Absolutely.
divinely orchestrated, and he's
Yes,
not here because the universe is taking care of him.
that's
Okay?
absolutely right. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching us today.